Well, good morning, good afternoon, evening. Welcome to those who are here watching on the Streamline Business Strategies Facebook group. We had some tech difficulties this morning, so the live stream is not working. So we've got the recording here. But if you have any questions as you're listening to the recording, please go ahead and post them in the group. I'll make sure that Alex receives them, and we'll get some feedback to you in the comments in the group. And just let us know that you're here watching. And if you're watching on YouTube or listening on the Small Biz 101 podcast, hello to you and thank you for being here. For all of you, you are really going to enjoy this topic. If you are a business owner or a business professional looking to grow your work, your practice, your business. So I do these interviews once or twice a month to support small business owners by providing guest experts in areas that are needed by entrepreneurs. Areas like we've already done legal considerations, online support for operations and marketing, website design, mindset support. We've really run a wide gamut of topics. And I feel like today's topic of keeping clients coming back, right? Client customer retention is so timely and important right now, as many solopreneurs I'm hearing, are seeing stagnation in their business or even decline in their revenues and profits over where they were last year. So I'm really happy that we're discussing this particular topic because I know it can make a big impact on a business's bottom line. So I'd like to introduce my guest, Alex Theis. Alex is an international speaker, author, consultant, and podcast host. He specializes in helping organizations and individuals reach new levels of growth and success by breaking through their self-imposed limits. Alex's innovative sales and retention programs have created well over $100 million in revenue for his clients. And Alex's Limitless podcast, folks, if you haven't listened to this podcast yet, you have got to subscribe to this if you're looking for inspiration. It's incredible. The Limitless, that's the name of it, the Limitless podcast by Alex Theis. Those that podcast, those episodes have been downloaded over 5 million times. It's so impressive, Alex. And I want to hear more about your podcast too as we talk. And Alex he's a best-selling author of the books Limitless Leadership, and he's a big hiker. He wrote a book called Hiking the Timberline Trail and Surviving Section A on the Pacific Crest Trail. So for any of you who love hiking or exploring these beautiful areas, those books are phenomenal as well. So be sure to check those out. And Alex has been such a good friend of mine, collaborator, accountability partner for, gosh, I don't know, Alex, what is it, like maybe 12, 13 years now.
Long time, yeah.
Yeah. And Alex has been such an inspiration to me. And I'm always so impressed with the work that he does with regard to sales and client retention. So I'm so excited to have you here, Alex, to be talking with me and for this particular audience.
Well, I'm really grateful to be here, Connie, and just I think that recording of what you just talked about, I need to replay that a couple times a month for myself. So thank you for that warm introduction, and it's good to hear those things. I think we'll talk about some of that to remind ourselves of our value and what we bring to the table when it comes to customer and client retention. But just echo it right back to you. I think both of us have a part of our DNA where we just love to help people win, and that's what I love. I hate to lose myself, but I love to help people win. And sometimes those are small wins, sometimes those are big wins, but especially in business, especially entrepreneurs, people in management, business owners, it's a tough climate and it's a tough game no matter what. Anything I can do to help people. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Oh, thank you. Oh, this is fabulous. So what I want to do, I want to start with the very basics here. So as you know, my primary audience here is made of solo business owners, solopreneurs who are often doing everything in their work and their businesses themselves. So that being the case, it is uber important, just due to the time that they have, that they focus on the right things when it comes to revenue generation. So I'd like to just start out with an overall basic question to you. Where do you see business owners missing out on growing their revenue?
I think the biggest area is referrals. I see most business owners, or I don't see them maximizing referrals. In fact, I see most business owners who are really good at what they do. They're great at their craft. They're great with their customers and clients. They are not maximizing referrals. Most of them aren't even scratching the surface of referrals. And when you think about how powerful word of mouth is, and it's always been the most powerful, most trusted form of advertising. If someone you know, love, like, or trust tells you about anything, you're much more likely to check it out. I would have never watched a movie called A Man Called Otto, A Man Named Otto with Tom Hanks. I mean, it just didn't. I don't like to watch movies. It takes a lot of time. But somebody recommended to me, someone who has the same type of taste as me, and I watched it on a plane, and I actually really enjoyed it. Wouldn't have watched that, and that's just a small example. So whether you're dealing with a current client, are you asking them for referrals? Are you asking them if you know somebody? See, so many of the questions we ask in business are yes or no questions, or they're straight on with somebody. There's a part of our brain that anytime we're face to face with somebody, metaphorically in our mind or physically, there's a part of our brain that says, get ready to fight. Animals, the only time animals face each other in nature is when they are ready to fight. Just throw a little extra humor here. Animals don't even procreate face to face. Okay, so when they're face to face, ready to fight. So there's part of your brain that says that. So when we want to generate more revenue, instead of asking people yes or no questions, ask them yes or yes questions and take them on a journey. Do you know anyone who might be able to use my services? Do you know anyone who could use this? Do you know anyone who could experience this benefit with us? Get them thinking versus just a yes or no point blank question. Do you want to buy? Do you know anyone that wants to buy from me? Take them on a journey in your mind. But I see, Connie, I see very few people maximizing referrals. This is when somebody says no, you should be asking them for a referral. What are they going to say? I don't know anybody. Okay, you didn't lose out, but you definitely lose out if you're not asking for referrals. And these days, Google reviews, Yelp, Facebook. I mean, word of mouth is everywhere. It's pretty much how we learn about everything. It's how you learned about Zoom. Somebody told you about it. You didn't just Google and find Zoom, right? So most of the good things in our life, if we consider Zoom a good thing, we find via referrals. So that is one of the biggest pieces. And then something we mentioned at the very beginning of this, I see a lot of business owners who know their craft so well, but they undervalue themselves. And I've been guilty of this too. We undervalue what we offer. We play small, and customers and clients don't want that. Do you want to do business with somebody who plays small or who undervalues? Well, I think I could help you, or maybe just go for this low amount. No, we want somebody that, steal a phrase from you, that brings the goods, right? We want somebody that really knows their stuff and says, yeah, I'm here to help you. This is what's going to happen. We are going to win. So ask for referrals. Stop undervaluing yourself. And the last piece I'll say about growing revenue is when somebody says no to you, that either means not right now, which we need to continue to follow up. It can be very personal when somebody says no to us. But the other part of it is personal. Many times people say no to you and what you offer or your business because of you. And that's really hard to hear. I'm looking in a mirror here when I say this. Like, so many people who say no are saying no to you. And what that means is you shouldn't get down on yourself. Oh, they said no to me. Yeah, they said no to you. But as business owners, we always need to be evolving. We always need to be self-improving. We always need to be reaching new levels. We can never, ever, ever be stagnant. And so anytime somebody says no, I think it's a great opportunity to say, what is my game plan here? Take a deep breath, take a step back and say, what is my game plan? Follow up. And how do I get better? How do my offers get better? How does my copy get better? Granular level, but also, am I focused on improving every single day who I am and what I bring to the table?
Perfect. Thank you. You gave so much value there, provided so much great information, but I'd like to go back to one of the points you first made about referrals. I think making or requesting referrals has gotten a bad rap. And I think so many people are scared of them because they've been told, they've been taught over the years that it's done in only one way, right? Who do you know that I can contact? People are afraid it's too salesy, it's too pushy, right? So to avoid that, and I know you shared a little bit there, but could you share a bit more? Like, when is it appropriate to ask for a referral? How can people ask for a referral that feels uh, perhaps not, I don't want to say salesy because that's in the mind of the person that's saying it, but something that may help people feel a little bit more comfortable with asking for a referral. Do you have any ideas you could share on that?
Sure. I think you have to get really clear on your vision, and it doesn't need to be this beautiful thing, but what really drives you? What are you really trying to accomplish for people? What makes you get up in the morning? And I think you start with that statement before your referral. You say, Connie, I'm looking for business owners that want to improve their retention by 3%, because if you do that in the next 3 years, you'll triple your sales. Do you know anyone who could use those kind of benefits? Now, that's just coming off the top of my head. If depending on the person I'm talking to, I'm going to shift that a little bit. But I like to start with my statement of vision. That's almost an invitation. That's my stake in the ground. This is where I'm headed. I'm looking for people to join me there. I'm looking to help people. I don't see how you can go wrong when it's genuine like that, when it's heartfelt. And if the person takes it the wrong way, that's okay. Where we go wrong is when it's out of desperation or from the wrong place, or if it doesn't feel right to us, it's not going to feel right to them at all. So I think you have to use your intuition with that. I think we all have that. Some of us are better than others, but tap into that intuition, that instinct that says this is the right time. But you don't have to go very far. Just jump on Facebook today and you will see a bunch of people saying, buy my stuff. And these are friends of yours. And what we tend to do when somebody asks for a referral or asks us to buy the wrong way or in a salesy way, we ignore them. And Facebook knows we ignore them, and they start showing up less. In fact, now it's never been easier in the little three little dots on Facebook to right click that and click snooze for 30 days. I don't spend very much time on Facebook, but every time I do, I snooze at least 5 people for 30 days because they're talking about politics or religion, or they're selling something, which is all kind of the same thing to me. So I don't want to be thought of as a salesperson, and don't talk to Alex. He's just going to try to get you to buy something. So I think tap into your instinct, make it feel really natural. But I like to start with that statement. I'm looking for this, or this is what I do. This is who I help. Do you know any of those people? I don't see how you can go wrong with that if the situation's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I love how you emphasize the being authentic in that and really connecting with what's the purpose, what's the vision, and just being your authentic self. So thank you for sharing that. And I also love that you mentioned a bit earlier that you were talking about that can also take the form of reviews, right? Asking people to write a Google review or a Facebook review or wherever your ideal client hangs out, really helping to optimize those profiles where somebody can take a little time and craft something that is meaningful, that reflects the important work that you've done for them. LinkedIn recommendations, those kinds of things that can really have an impact over time.
Yes. I don't know if you've ever tried to pick up like a hippo or an elephant by yourself, but that's what reviews feel like. As an author, reviews are everything on Amazon. Even bad reviews are better than no reviews. So it is so hard to get people to leave reviews, even your best friends. It just is. And I'm guilty of it too. Reading a friend's book or checking out their business or going to their new brewery and not leaving a review on Google. So you cannot leave that to chance. I know it feels like you're badgering people, but when it comes to reviews for people that you like, you have to badger them. Say, please leave this review. You have to ask them several times. I've been guilty of it myself, of not leaving reviews, but not asking for it. And for example, the Timberline Trail book that you talked about, I mean, I've sold hundreds of copies of that. I think well over 1,000 copies of that book. And I think there's, I don't know, 12 reviews. Like, and I've gotten more emails about the book from somebody telling me your book, I hiked this book. I met somebody in August hiking the trail who was hiking the trail because they read my book. They did not leave a review. And I didn't ask them to leave a review right there. Can you leave a review? I mean, we just got to get in that habit.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Oh, no, really good points. All right. Question and I know part of what you've already discussed very much relates to the main topic here, but we're focusing on client and customer retention, right? And I know you work so much with your sales teams, with your clients on this. So I'm curious, what are some ways that come to mind to you for increasing client or customer retention?
Retention starts from the very beginning. It starts in your sales process, what you promise people, and then it moves into your onboarding process. I recently purchased a course from someone who's become a friend of mine. He was my podcast mentor, and then he became a really good friend of mine, and he put out this course, and the course looked really good. And it's through Kajabi, which is the preeminent course provider. So I was excited, and I bought the course, and I got an email with my links and how to set it up. And I got in there, and I had no idea where to go. And I'm not a dunce with technology, but I literally got lost. And so they had a call, like an introductory call. And everybody on the introductory call, it was basically like help desk. They were showing them how to get into their thing. Like, people want action, they want results. And we don't live in a results driven society anymore. It's an activity driven society. So results will help you stand out. So retention starts from the very beginning, your onboarding process. How can you enrich the experience? Don't leave anything to chance. No matter what business you're in, you can create small ways in those first few weeks, days, weeks, hours that somebody becomes your client or customer that makes them feel really good. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's really how you make them feel. And another way to increase your retention is to have fewer bad clients and fewer bad sales. And this may seem counterintuitive, like I need the money, but to be really choosy about who you do business with. Now, if you've got some kind of online storefront, you don't get that choice, right? People are coming, but where you advertise, who you're talking to, who you're asking for referrals, oftentimes we get in a financial situation or a self-esteem situation in business where we just want any money. We just want any client, any customer. And I've been there. But keep your head high, keep your chin up, brush your shoulders off, like know what you bring to the table, because qualifying people, doing business with the right people, we all know, you know entrepreneurs who have quit, you know business owners who have quit because they worked with the wrong people, whether that was their staff or just really bad clients and customers. We've all had bad clients and customers. Fire them, get rid of them as soon as they show, like, fulfill your obligation, do what you need to do, and then never do business with them again because they will drag you down. And of course, your retention is going to be bad if you're working with the wrong people. So it starts from the very beginning. The second they become customer, and even in your sales process, we're so focused on just trying to get people to say yes that we often lose sight of and having that confidence that as soon as they begin, this is where they're going, and taking them on that journey and having them feel really good about it, enriching that experience, just finding little ways, and then being choosy. And your system of integration, I just mentioned that course. It's so important. If all I needed was an email, which was essentially free, saying, here's your first three things to do. And then when I completed those three things, I should have got another email that says, here's your next three things, or a pop-up on the site or whatever it is. I was actually really unimpressed with Kajabi. And I don't blame this entrepreneur for the course. It felt like it was trying to be something like, we're super popular and cool, but really it comes down to it, your customers just want results. They don't care how cool you are. They just want results. So be choosy who you work with, and know that retention starts from your sales process, from onboarding, from the very beginning of doing business with them. Because the better they feel, the more results they get, the choosier you are, the more likely you are to get referrals and have that client stick around with you for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One thing that you said reminded me, one of my clients that I met with on Monday said she runs a aesthetics spa locally, and she said I and my team are focusing on creating a 5-star experience from the minute the person walks in the door. And that's what you're speaking of, right? This is more the in-person, but whether it's online or in person, having the person feel special, taken care of, it's an ease of process that begins from the beginning that really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's the flight attendant that smiles at you when you walk onto the plane versus if you've ever flown many, many, many years ago, Frontier Airlines wasn't the airline they are now. They weren't a budget airline. They were a Western airline and they had really great flights from San Diego to Denver. And I was going to Denver once or twice a month. And then they switched ownership and they went to a budget airline. You could tell the second you walked onto the plane that the people there just weren't treated well. And so that experience where last night I flew Delta, which I consider the preeminent airline in the United States and the best airline in the United States. And they cost more pretty much than other airlines I could fly for the exact same flight. But I try to fly Delta wherever I can because it's just such a nice experience. That, and it doesn't mean their budget's bigger than anybody else. It's just the little things. Their flight attendants actually seem happy. Their pilots, last night we flew into storms in San Diego and we had to circle the airport for 20 minutes and he kept us in the loop, right? Just those little things that make such a big difference when we're doing business people. And as solopreneurs, we often have the ability to be a lot more hands-on than a big company, or even if you're running a small organization, you can be a lot more hands-on and do some innovation versus some big companies or bigger competitors.
Mhm. You've talked about different phases of the engagement from the very beginning when you start working with a client or customer through the process. What about toward the end? So I'm thinking I work with a number of coaches, people who work for set engagements with people, consultants, right? They have a project length that goes along with it, and the project comes to a conclusion. Yet, perhaps as a coach or a consultant, we see that that person can continue. There's so much more that they can benefit from and grow from learning more. And there's so much more value that can be provided. Are there tips that you have in those situations for, say, the end of the engagement for retaining that person going forward?
Yes. So many years ago, a few years ago, I had one of my biggest clients that hired me for a specific project. And the project went really well. So that was a plus. Obviously, once your projects, whatever they hired you for, you want to go really well. But as we approached what could have been near the end of the project, for one thing, I had a feeling that they wanted to continue to do business with me because of the work I'd done. So I didn't want to leave that to chance. And when you have a client, you get to know them pretty well. And you get to know their strengths and weaknesses and what they need and where they're lacking and could use more help. So anytime I'm going to do business with somebody, short term or long term, before that engagement ends, well before it ends, I'm talking at least a month, if not longer, 90 days preferably. I put together something like a SWOT analysis, but a little more pointed. I don't focus tremendously. I don't say these are your weaknesses and threats. I don't use that type of language because that tends to kind of turn off business owners. What I give them is, hey, here's some situations that are going on in your business, whether it's with this project or other projects, things I've noticed that could be improved. And I tell them how to improve them without me. And then I also tell them how I could help improve them. So they have a choice. Basically, I give them a game plan from this point forward. Here's what I've given you. Here's how to keep it going. Here's some other things I noticed. Here's what should be done to fix those. If you want my help, let me know. Every time I've done that, it's led to more business, either with somebody else or another project. And in this particular case, it led to some really, really lucrative additional projects that are still ongoing.
You're, I, that approach just sounds perfect to me. You are empowering your client to make that decision and not coming from a place of, we're coming up to the last call and I know they're going to pitch me, just keep working with me. That often will happen in those situations. You set that
Right.
up so beautifully and again authentically. It's something you recognize that they need. I'm sure you wouldn't be doing that if you felt like they had everything together, but when you still see a place for growth, there's a wonderful opportunity there.
I think even when they have everything together, leaving them with a game plan so that they're not alone and always leaving a leave behind. Back in the days of business cards, right? We gave somebody a business card. This is a virtual business card that's a game plan for them. So they're not alone. You're always with them, even after you're done doing business with them. And even if I gave a client a game plan, a blueprint, says, okay, here's a couple other things that you could do on your website to increase sales. And I lay those out and they're like, yeah, we can do this. We don't need Alex to do this. Why we pay Alex? We have a team internally, or I know how to do this. if they run into a stumbling block, they're going to come right back to you. And if you actually just gave them a winning game plan they can do without you, they're going to love you. I mean, I've learned this from my podcast. It's free. I try to give people the absolute best experiences and stories and insights and strategies to improve their life. And when they do that, when you do that, you build trust with people. So they know you're not just looking for the check. You're not just looking to extend it. You're in the coaching business, Connie. Both of us have had coaches that felt like they just dragged things out to continue to make money, and they really weren't results focused. And
Yes,
that doesn't work for business. So I would suggest that, yeah, make sure you have that leave behind, no matter how it's gone. And if you're fearful because it hasn't gone well, continue, lay out that can make the biggest difference. This has been kind of a rough experience, but you still like that person, you'd like to continue to work with them, it doesn't feel complete, lay out that game plan, and it could just be the difference maker. Like, hey, they can do this without me, or they can do it with me. And remember, this is a great opportunity on a bad customer or a bad client, and as engagement ends, to give them that, still give them that value and say, here's how to move forward without me. Yep. You don't need to add in, here's how to move forward with me. Yep. If you don't want to do it, it's perfectly okay to say no, because what you say no to will open up the doors of things you can say yes to. If you're saying yes to things you don't want to, you're missing opportunities for sure.
Yep. You got that. A question that's come to mind for me, and I just, this is coming off the top of my head because we were talking before we got on here. At the very beginning, I mentioned that there are a lot of small business owners now who are struggling. And for some reason, it seems like, well, for many reasons, third, fourth quarter, a lot of businesses are having a tough time right now in this year. And they're saying, we're doing the same things we did last year, but we're not having the same results in terms of bringing clients in, whether they be new or past clients. So I'm just curious, when you hear that from say a business owner, what comes to mind to you that might be helpful for them?
I think you have to question your thought process on this. Have you become stagnant in your thinking process? I work with some home-based business people, and the home-based business landscape, especially in direct sales, has changed so much, yet people aren't adapting, and they're trying to do the same things they did that worked fantastically even just a few years ago. And the pandemic shifted business for all of us. Like, it forced all of us to innovate. And so I would encourage anyone who's feeling that way, that first of all, there is some truth to it, but there's also an area that isn't true. For example, right now, you could go on LinkedIn or open up any news site, and you're going to find some article about employment that nobody wants to work right now. And that is complete and utter crap, because there have been slackers since the 1500s and probably before. And there were slackers in Jesus' time, and there's been slackers when I was in high school, and there's slackers now that I'm almost 50 years old. Slackers are always here, and they make us who aren't slackers look even better. So are there people that don't want to work? Absolutely. Nobody wants to work. It sounds like you've given up, like you phoned it in. And generally, the first place I look is in myself, and also the culture I've created in my own business and with the people that I'm working with. Because it's not true. If you believe it's true, it absolutely is. But it's not true that you can't innovate and find ways to improve your business. And it's really easy to get stuck. I like to think that you picture yourself in a boardroom. It's one of the least creative places in the world. When you feel stuck, which happens to all of us as business owners, you have got to get out and hear other voices. You've got to get out and have diversity. You have to go out and have great experiences. And time scarcity is one of the biggest limits to creativity. And so oftentimes when we feel like business isn't going the way we want, especially if we have a smaller company versus just a solopreneur, we tend to stay really busy. We become a really busy society of activity, but not results. I'd rather get results in 2 hours and then do whatever I want for 6 hours, take a walk, right? I mean, I read an article just last week. The USA Today says, it was an article about return to office. And it said the average office worker that spends 8 hours in the office works 3 hours. So everything we say, all these statements we look at, business is hard. Business has always been hard. It's always been hard. There's always been slackers. There's always been challenges with winning clients back. People are always looking at their budgets. Are there times in economies when people spend more freely? Absolutely. Are there times when things feel a lot more effortless and easy? Yes. But adversity is the greatest teacher on the planet. And so I would invite you, if you can thrive in adversity by hearing some outside voices, by putting yourself in quiet spaces of creativity, getting away from your work to get some fresh ideas, learning and doing something different, not just in your business, because anytime we spark creativity in our mind, it leads to creativity other places. The greatest source I have for new content for my podcast is just having new experiences in the world. When I sit down, it's like, I got to come up with 10 topics today. I can come up with one or two. If I go out to Starbucks, I come home with like 25 topics, just getting out. If I go on a hike, I come back with 100 topics. I think the same thing's true in business. So yes, business is hard, but adversity creates champions. The calm seas don't make great captains. When you thrive in adversity, then when the times get easier, you're going to just roll like never before. So dig deeper, look in the mirror, put yourself in quiet situations where you're not so busy to allow you to think. Because anytime you're stuck, you're one idea or one person away from something magical happening.
Thank you. Folks, did I tell you that Alex was going to be inspiring? I really meant it, and you just heard a whole bunch of it. So if you found value in what Alex has shared, which I'm sure everyone has, and this is not planned, but you just remind me, listen to this podcast, listen to the Limitless podcast. If you just got inspiration from those 2 minutes of what Alex said, you're going to be filled up for the rest of the year with what you hear through his podcast as well. Alex, thank you. This is just terrific information. To wrap things up, is there anything related to client customer retention that I haven't asked you that you feel is important to communicate?
Think most of us undervalue our strengths, and we need to maximize those strengths. Be really, really great at what you're good or great at. Be phenomenal at it. So many companies or individuals, we were brought up to focus on our weaknesses. When you got a report card or your first job review, right? You go for your annual review and they're pointing out what you did wrong and how you can improve. And improvement is great. Self-improvement is even better. But we're not trained to say, hey, focus on your strengths, be great at those. And everywhere you look, whether it's sports, business, anywhere in the world, you have companies like Amazon that became the best bookseller on the planet. And then from there, started branching into other areas. They didn't start by offering everybody everything. Google became the best search on the planet and then moved into all these other places. You don't need to have a big budget like Google or Amazon to focus on your strengths. There are 1, 2, or 3 things that you're amazing at. Continue to be amazing at those, grow at those, shore up your strengths wherever you can, your blind spots, but focus on your strengths and be great at those. The world rewards specialization.
Thank you. All right, Alex, what is the best way for people to learn more about you and your work?
Well, one of my biggest loves in life is that podcast. And I took about a year off from it and it's back. It's been back for a couple of months now. And anybody listens to it, it's going to hear the energy in my voice. I'm just back in love with it. Sometimes you need some time away, but check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, or just go to my website, which is my name, Alex Theis, ALEXTHEIS.com/podcast. You can also go to /consulting, /speaking. I do workshops mainly for companies, just for companies, workshops. They're all listed there. I do consulting with companies. You can check all those things out, but I would say, and also my books on Amazon, you can just go to Amazon and enter my name. But if there's one area that I think would have the most impact in your life, it would be absolutely free. Just go check out the Limitless podcast anywhere you get podcasts.
Thank you. And I will be sure that all of that information is put in the posts, in the show notes, so all of that is easily accessible. Thank you so much, Alex, for being here. And thank you to the person who's here watching, the person who's here listening, whether you're here on Facebook, on YouTube, on the podcast. I so appreciate you being here. And I'm sure taking away some nuggets of gold for your own business. And I'm going to steal your line, Alex, and conclude this by saying to anyone who's listening, just remember, you are limitless. Thanks
Thank you,
all.
Connie. Thanks, everybody.